All righty, Rue. Hopefully we're on YouTube. We're going to give it a minute to calibrate so that I can make sure. And then we're going to get going. You guys, today is going to be really fun because CJ is an OG. Did we determine that you're number 4?
That's what I remember Jordan saying. So
we're going to own it. It's got to be up there. All right.
All righty, Rue.
And it did. Hopefully. There we go. That's why we wait until it calibrates so that I can make sure we're actually muted. All right. As you guys are jumping in, do you have it pulled up? Are you going to be watching?
No.
Or are you just talking to me?
I don't have good enough Wi-Fi to watch and do at the same time.
All right. Okay. As you guys are jumping in over on YouTube, you guys have the ability actually to jump in the chat and I can see it. So number 1, cheer on CJ because she's a fellow free mama. Number 2, you can ask questions that you have and I would be happy to ask them during the interview as well. And we can send CJ the link and she can come back and get in the chat a little bit later on as well. So you guys are here for our live recording of Free Mama Radio. I'm so excited and we're going to go ahead and start. Are you ready?
Yeah. Me. Yes. Okay. Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, cool. And I'm going to grab before we start because I like to take notes. I'm ready. All right. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Free Mama Radio. I'm so excited you're here. We are here with Cassandra Jones, and I was joking that I think that's the first time I've ever called her Cassandra, and that is because she goes lovingly by CJ. So that's how I know this amazing human. CJ is the owner of CJ Admin Solutions, a freelance at-home business she created after leaving her career nearly 2 decades to spend more time with her growing family. What started as general VA services quickly up-leveled to business management services, but the most amazing and unexpected change was breaking through the crippling shyness that had kept her from advancing in her career as well as growing in her new business. I got to tell you guys, I got a first row seat to this transformation, and I'm so excited to talk about this today. Helping other women do the same, it became a passion, and the Shy Mama Project was born in 2021. CJ is married to her 8th grade love at first sight, and I also know a lot of details about that, which I just think is fantastic. A mom of 2 kids, 2 dogs, loving lake life in Southern Missouri. You're actually not that far from me. I love it. Yeah. CJ, welcome to Free Mama. Hi. Oh my gosh, I'm just so excited you're here right now. I got to come back over, make sure we got everybody who's joining us live, which by the way, if you want to tune into a live recording of Free Mama Radio, check out YouTube. We like to do them. It's a good time. So CJ, we were kind of talking before we went live during the interview that you're an OG free mama. Like you were one of the first 5, we think number 4, to enroll in the Free Mama movement when I had no social proof, no idea really what I was doing, loads of imposters, like all the things that free mamas come in and we feel like we're the only one who must feel this. You guys, no. Like DJ was watching me like try to figure out what I was doing and teach people how to start freelancing, but you probably didn't know it at the time. Well, maybe you knew it. So my first question for you, and then we're going to get into your background before you found the Free Mama and all of that, but why are you still here? Like seriously, like you were like the 4th person in this community. I mean, there was like less than 50 people in the Facebook group. You are now a member of my inner circle. Like what does the Free Mama mean to you?
So really it's all about the free Facebook group. Like it is the best place on the internet, and like watching it develop and being a part of it, like I just never want to leave it. I just never want to leave the Free Mama world. It's been such a big part of my life for the past 3 years. And I mean, we talk about it all the time. It really is just the most amazing community of women who are just doing amazing things and loving on each other and are so positive. And it's like, there's just no place like it. And so I don't imagine ever leaving.
Oh, thanks. So you came in though, and it wasn't the coolest place on the internet yet, although I was trying. I was working, you may have noticed, I was in there like 6 hours, 4 hours a day. Like I'm answering everybody's question constantly. Where were you at before you found the Facebook group, before you found the Free Mama movement? I think you were already out of your job, but kind of tell us not just where were you at professionally, but like where were you at life wise when you
Mhm.
first came into the world?
Yeah. So, like you said, I had already left my job, but I had no plan, zero plan. And I was the breadwinner for my family. Like, we had a big income sort of place, insurance, all of that. But like, I had just become so miserable that there was no other option but to find something else. And so I actually didn't know what I was going to do. And I started down one path with my father-in-law, who's self-employed. But I kind of knew that that wasn't really going to be a fulfilling direction for me. And so I was just hanging out on Facebook one day and I saw an ad for this really awesome looking blonde girl. And I was like, work from home. And I'm like, okay. And I watched the webinar, and like, you were literally saying like everything I had been feeling before I quit my job about wanting to be home with my kids, wanting a better presence in my family's life, wanting more control over that. And it was so frustrating until that point, because I was like, why isn't this a thing? Why can't the world be that way? Why is all the messaging about like, having these careers and all of these things? And so your webinar like was pulling straight out of my heart. And so I was like, okay, well, I got to try that. And
And
I
so
did.
you enrolled, but but you didn't enroll in group coaching, which is now our Free Mama Squad.
Right.
Do you remember why not?
Okay. Well, financial was one thing, but truly, this is kind of a funny story. I sort of accidentally enrolled in the Free Mama to begin with. I was
I don't remember this.
I
That's
was
fun.
exploring the PayPal credit option or something, but like for whatever reason, I ended up just purchasing. And like once it was done, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go with it. And
But
it's like the
maybe
best
not.
mistake
But
that
maybe not
ever
yet.
happened.
Oh, that's so funny. But you joined later on. And
Mhm.
at this point, was it hard for you to show up? Because we're like going on this journey here where we're going to be talking about you overcoming your shyness. Like,
Mhm.
why did you end up joining group coach? Like, what were you doing on your own in your business before you joined? Why
Mhm.
did you join? Because that's really when I started to get to know you.
Mhm.
And what was that like for you to come into that community where you're on, this was before COVID, so you're on
Mhm.
Zoom, people can
Mhm.
see you, you're being
Yeah.
asked to talk. Like, what was that? What did that feel like for you?
So I ended up joining group coaching because I wasn't progressing the way I wanted to. I knew I needed something a little bit more. I didn't understand. I hadn't named my problem exactly what I thought it was, what was holding me back, but I know I wasn't moving forward. And I had also been investing a lot of time in becoming an enrolled agent, which was the other thing. It's what my father-in-law does. And there was an expectation that there was going to be some work once I got that certification. And that didn't exactly materialize the way we had planned. So like I needed to speed up this other option. And so I enrolled in group coaching, and it was totally nerve-wracking. And I was not new to Zoom calls. I had worked from home in my corporate career for like 10 years. So conferencing into things was not new to me. But this was a group of people who I was the new person. And I was very, very shy, or at least that's what I was telling myself all the time. And I struggled with, there had already seemed to be like some camaraderie, obviously, that had built up between the people who were already there. And I was like, oh man, I'm never going to get a seat at this table. So it was really, really nerve wracking to like sign on and be like, okay, I've got to do something, and this is it.
That's so interesting. And obviously, we know that's not true because here you are 4 years later, seated across the virtual table. And I will say, in the Free Mama, there is always a seat at the table, friends. And we've seen this now. I mean, we watched thousands of people join. So there is never not a seat at the table. I think that's one of the things that makes our community so special. Is we always will welcome you with open arms. So you've identified yourself as being shy. You mentioned earlier that it actually impacted you in your life even before the Free Mama. So maybe paint a picture for, here's my question. When did you realize this? That's what I want to know. When did you realize that this story about you being shy was maybe playing a role in you not being where you wanted to be, both present and past.
Yeah, so I kind of knew it. I mean, I would tell people I was shy. I would go to interviews with people that I had known for years in my corporate career. I started my corporate job at 19. I grew up with these people. And even in interviews for promotions or moves, I would tell people that I knew I was really nervous because I was shy. And it's funny because I grew up wanting to be an actress, wanting to be on stage. I loved being on stage. And just somewhere along the way, for many reasons that actually are got unpacked after kind of making the realization that we'll get to. I don't know the one day that I was like, I'm shy, and that was it. Like, I just became shy. It was happened over time. It was a change. But I remember specifically the last time that I said I'm shy. And that was when we had our first one-on-one. And you were so gracious and so welcoming. And I said to you, I'm shy. And you were like, I don't see it. And you were not the first person to tell me that at all. Many people, when I said I'm shy, they were like, I don't see it. I just don't see it. But for some reason in that conversation, I was like, well, then why do I keep saying it? Like, if people aren't seeing it, why am I telling people, whether it's true or not? Why do I keep telling people this thing that they are probably not seeing? So it was kind of an awakening of like, do I have to keep telling this story? And that changed everything.
So do you think shyness was an excuse or a fear, or how would you maybe describe how you used shyness? And then maybe follow up would be, do you think shyness and being an introvert are the same thing? Because now that you're in this space and you're seeing it, you see that so many people come into the Free Mama and they're like, well, I'm not an extrovert like Lauren, or, I can't go live. I can't, and we tell ourselves this story. So what did that look like? Like, what do you think shyness was or represented for you?
Yeah. So I love that question. It's so good. So first, shy and introverted are not the same thing, but they do tend to go hand in hand. There are way more introverts who identify as shy than extroverts, though there are extroverts who can identify as shy. For me, how I've kind of labeled it or come to understand it is, for me, shy was the box that I was putting all my limiting beliefs in. And I had to strip away that box to start pulling out what my limiting beliefs were and start to change them and start to rewrite those stories. So shy for me was not one thing. It was limiting beliefs packaged up, plus my introversion, which I've learned how to manage, that were causing so much social anxiety for me. And by sort of unwrapping that label of shy, I was able to really start doing some development around what the limiting beliefs were.
I love the picture that you just painted about that. That was really powerful. So you just mentioned, you also identify as an introvert and having some things to kind of help you overcome that. What are some of those things that you do? I mean, you're on a podcast right now that is streaming live, for goodness sake. So for someone who started with a little package in the corner with shyness as the wrapping paper that you could chuck all of your, missed opportunities in, you've come a long way. So what do you do to balance this? Because whether someone's listening right now, CJ, and they identify as shy or not, I know that this idea of like, well, I'm an introvert, so I can't go network online, or I'm an introvert, I can't go do XYZ thing. We know that it's not true, but what could you share with that? Because I'm not an introvert. So what advice could you share with them to help them maybe identify that it's not true?
Yeah, so there's so much to that, but number one is that introversion really has very little to do with how well you interact with others. It has to do with how you manage your energy in order to have the amount of energy you need to interact with each other, with others. The social anxiety piece that comes in with the limiting beliefs, but introversion is all about energy management. And so for me, I really had to learn to build in my quiet time before and after times when I know I'm going to be in social spaces. Like I didn't need to do that for this necessarily, because you're my friend, it's going to be short. It's not like speaking to a bunch of crazy people. Yeah, maybe. But but just knowing that I have to build in time for the things that fill me up, and those things aren't necessarily being out with other people. They're well, almost not. That's not true. So like I went to the amusement park the other day, and I was standing there in line by myself, surrounded by thousands of people, but I was totally standing there by myself. And in another life, that would have made me so anxious and so nervous. And it would have been so hard for me. Like I never did the things that I loved by myself, because I felt like I wasn't allowed to do things by myself. And now I know, like, going to the movies by myself is the most wonderful, amazing thing. So it's like having to rewire your brain to be able to do the things that you love because you love them and not because of anything. Does that make sense? That's probably not very clear, but like that's just one thing. But there's so many different ways to like understand and uncover what fills you up and honor that, rather than trying to push to all of these things that people are saying that you should be doing.
I think that's really important. It's not one size fits all.
Yeah.
So you referenced the one-on-one call that we had in this as the last time you called yourself shy, which by the way is just really powerful, I think. So how are you able to do that and stick with it's really easy as a coach. Like I constantly want to just tell people, like, you just decide. That's the answer. You just decide. So what do you think it was either about that call or about where you were at, like with your business or with your life? Like, do you think you were just at your limit? Like, were you just frustrated enough that you were like, I'm done doing this? Like I had, like, was it a decision? And then what happened after that?
So it does feel like it was like that moment, decision made, done, moved on with my life. Looking back, obviously there's breadcrumbs that wasn't necessarily the case, but I do feel like at that time I was pretty much at rock bottom. Like I was looking at having to go find a job again, an outside of the home job. I had a baby at home. I didn't want to do that. I had spent the last 20 years of my life doing something I didn't love doing because everyone else told me it was safe, it was the right thing to do. And I just didn't want to go back to that. I wanted to have control over my life. And so if I realized in that moment that if that was the one thing that was holding me back, that was the thing that I needed to tackle. And I committed to doing that. And so it was a lot of personal development work. There's not really well, I don't know. It's different for everyone. So it's a lot of personal development work, but it really was unpacking those limiting beliefs. And that was one of the things that was so beautiful in that time with Free Mama, because we did Free Mama Live. And we did an exercise where we wrote down limiting beliefs on a note card, and we ripped them up, and it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And I really feel like that work on destroying or rewriting limiting beliefs was making such a big difference that like I sort of became addicted to it. And now I can't stop talking about rewriting limiting beliefs and uncovering it's the way the brain works and the stories we tell ourselves and how we can change that and the control. Like my shift has gone beyond like having control over the job I have to having absolute control over what my brain is doing and how I'm moving around in my life based on that and making those changes. It's crazy.
And so how has this time and energy and effort that you've put into this personal development work and rewriting your story and eliminating some of these limiting beliefs, how has that changed, the external CJ's world? Like what then happened from that moment in your business? What's happened in your family? That as a result of you unpacking this shyness box and dealing with what's inside.
Yeah. So a lot of it was changing. So when you change your belief system from all of these things that you're thinking you can't do for so many reasons, and you start thinking about what can I do and how do I make that happen? It kind of opens up a world of like, well, why am I not doing all of these things that I really want to be doing? So like for a very, very long time, so my business, we'll start with that. I finally started getting clients because actually the first time I went to a networking event, which wasn't even a networking event, it was a QuickBooks class. I had made a decision that I was going to do things differently there than I had ever done before. I sat down at a table where people were already sitting for lunch, and I actually spoke to people. I didn't just pick up my phone and start scrolling. And I got my first client from that, literally.
That is amazing. Which I mean, weeks before would have been like unfathomable.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And he was my client he ended up being my client for almost 2 years until I ended up really pivoting and being like, I don't want to work in financial services. I want to do something else. But so I started building my business, and that was awesome. And it started just growing so fast that my husband and I started to look at like, well, what do we really want? Why are we waiting to do the things that we really want? If we know we can say, I want this, and then make that happen, what do we want that we're not making happen? And one of those things was moving.
So good.
And one of those things was moving. Actually, the first thing was having another baby. I remember very clearly having a conversation with my husband, and we were talking about when we have another baby. And he's like, well, what are we waiting for? Like, and it was such a good question. Like, is there ever really a good time to have a baby? I don't know. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But like, what are we realistically waiting for? And then after having my son, it was like, we knew we didn't want to live in Colorado where we were living anymore. We had actually tried to move to Wyoming a couple of years before that, which didn't work out. We were like, well, what are we waiting for? I can work wherever I want. He was a contractor. He could work wherever he wanted. What were we realistically waiting for? A good housing market? I don't know. But we were like, we made a decision like that day, and we were like, well, let's put our house up for sale and see what happens. And we didn't know where we were going to move to. We just knew we wanted to move somewhere else. And we made a list of the things we wanted. We wanted to be near water. We wanted to be, a few different things that we wanted. Being near water was a big one. And we kind of like picked out a few places. We looked at Texas. We looked at South Carolina. And we landed on Southwest Missouri. And we were like, okay, well, let's try that. We didn't know. We were fully accepting of the fact that like that might change. It might not be where we landed, but we moved to a place where we didn't know anybody, didn't have any support system. We just knew we wanted to move. And it's been the most amazing life change, like ever. I don't know that we'll ever leave here. So like, I don't know. Sorry, I was just gonna say it's been all about like, instead of thinking like, what can I have based on what I currently have? And it's turned into what do I want and how do I make that happen?
That's so powerful. I was going to ask, may I ask you potentially a vulnerable question?
You can ask me anything.
Okay. Do you think that your transformation and kind of this new way of thinking about yourself and thinking about life and your personal development, do you think that rubbed off on your husband? Or do you think that you had maybe been holding the family back? Like, did he adopt your new mentality because he saw this change? Or do you think you being stuck was not that you were keeping your husband stuck, but like, was he always kind of wanting to be adventurous and do this and you didn't see it? Or do you think that you started to see possibility and then he started to see possibility? Because I know he's now started his own business kind of side thing too.
Yeah. I think
or both.
It was both. It was a little bit of both, really. Like he is definitely the free spirited adventure adventurer of the two of us. I'm very rules based, very structured and analytical. Like was very resistant to change for a very long time, and he is very much go with the flow, wherever the wind blows type of deal. But but he was also one of the ones who was like, we need your income, we need your benefits, we need this, and it didn't get, I mean, literally when we made the decision for me to leave my job, we were in such a low place, me personally, that he looked at me and he was like, I just want my wife back. And so it took that level of desperation almost to be like, a change has to be made. But so he kind of came along the journey with me, but it happened very quickly because I think it was in his nature to do that. So yeah, he has totally adopted, and all of the changes that were made, again, that comes from him. What are we waiting for? Once he saw the possibility open up and the winds change, he was on board. He was right there. So it's been interesting, but yeah, now he teaches people his hobby online. And he absolutely loves doing it. But it's not something we ever thought he would be doing ever until all of this happened.
That is I am just so happy to know you. Like I said, I've had a front row seat kind of to this transformation. And so you are still working as a freelancer, yes? Currently?
Yes.
Okay, so tell everybody what you're currently doing now in your freelancing business.
Yes, so I am an online business manager. I work for course creators and movement makers. And I say that plural, but I'm actually haven't been taking on new clients because I've been so committed to the Shy Mama project, even though I probably could take on some additional OBM work. But I just, I love helping create. I'm not super creatively inclined. And I love watching and helping people's big creative visions come to life. And so for OBM being able to be the structure, the person behind the scenes doing all the organizational, managing the team, right? I love writing SOPs, all of those kinds of things. That has been really, really fun and fulfilling as far as sort of a more, I shouldn't even say that, as far as being the freelancing OBM.
Yeah, but that was an evolution that kind of came out of starting in this financial space over time. So
yeah, I started just doing some bookkeeping and tax work, like subcontracting work from a CPA, and then it turned into like this whole big thing. And yeah,
that's awesome. So there's a lot of like, guys, it's a journey. It's like we're going on a journey here. You got to be open to it, which then led you to your passion, your third baby, or this thing you've created, right? So tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so the Shy Mama project, it's funny because when I started Inner Circle last year with you, I kind of had this idea of, because I wanted, it's so funny how you grow. Like I started out just wanting to be home with my babies. And then I kind of started freelancing and I was like, I kind of want to make this a business, not just like a couple clients here and there. And so I started a business. And then I was like, well, I kind of really want to make an impact. And like it never just stayed, and it never just, my why was never just stayed as like I want to be home with my kids. And I think so many free mamas go through that, so it's really amazing to see. But when we were in Inner Circle last summer, I was really looking at like a lot of what my husband and I had been through as far as changing our life and sort of everything we had just talked about, and like how do I help other families do that. But I was like, I knew I liked that idea, but I was just coming up against these walls. Like I could just never get traction. And then during Free Mama Live last year, in that time frame, I had been tagged a lot, which this wasn't unusual, but I had started getting tagged a lot around people asking in the Free Mama group, well, can I do this if I'm shy? Can I do this if I'm introverted? And so like, sometimes I get tagged for being an OBM. I'm always tagged when people ask about being shy or introverted. And something during Free Mama Live just clicked, even though it had sort of been like slapping me across the face the whole time, and was like, I can help people move past their shyness. Like I can help guide women who really, really, really want to make change in their lives and build their business, and know that like this crippling shyness is the only thing that's holding them back. They're capable, they want to do it, but there's just this thing. I can help with that. Maybe I should try that. And so a lot of messy action, but I've started coaching a couple of women. The free group is just starting, but I'm like, I really am loving it. And it's like, this is really cool. This is really fun. So
Well, I can see your passion just like coming out of your, it's just like pouring out of you. And I can definitely attest to your qualifications, because one of the first things I ever talk about with my higher level students, as you know, is you cannot walk someone across a bridge you have not walked across. And I can definitely confirm that you've walked across it. You might still be on it. We all are, right? It's a really long bridge to get to the other side, but you are definitely, I mean, it's literally changed your life. Your ability to change your limiting beliefs. This, I love that image that you created of this like box in the corner wrapped in shyness. So powerful. And I know you're going to help so many other women. So for people who are listening, who are feeling shy, or they identify as an introvert and they have felt it holding them back in their life or their business, or it's preventing them from getting started, how can they connect with you? What's that? What's this group you speak of?
yeah, so there's I've only been doing a private group so far, but I am starting up a free Facebook group. And it's just the Shy Mama Project. And so if you search for it on Facebook, it'll be there. You'll find it. Or you can just connect with me directly. I'm totally fine with that as well. You can find me in the Free Mama Facebook group, or just find my profile and DM me. I'm totally cool with that. So yeah.
We'll make it even easier on you. If you guys go to freemamaradio.com, we'll put all CJ's information as well as a link to her Facebook group in the show notes. You know, we got to keep things simple for everybody here. All right, I got a couple more quick questions for you. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So ever listened to Free Mama Radio, you may have known this was coming, because we like to wrap up kind of the same way. So you know, as a free mama, that it's all about taking action, right? Like, we can be supportive, we can be positive, we can be lifelong learners, but without action, there's no transformation. So could you give me like 3 takeaways for someone who's either an introvert or identifies as shy? What are 3 things that they can do today, now, in the next week? What are 3 things they can either do? Let's stick with the verb do. I don't want to say think about. There might be some thought, but what are 3 things they can do just to start seeing some small shifts?
Yeah, so I would say, and this shy is really a mindset thing. So in a lot of ways, so do is a lot of think, but number 1, stop saying I'm shy to yourself or anybody else. Even if you don't believe it yet, you have to start rewriting that story. Number 2 is, what I like to do is, or one thing that I've done is, if you're familiar with money stories, which I know you are, Lauren, I write shy stories. So I go back to those origins of when I started feeling certain anxieties or certain feelings, or started having like nervous body things, to start examining those origin stories of kind of where that started or the things that happened. And then, 3, gosh, that's hard, because there's so many. What do I pick? But yeah, start looking at those shy stories and journaling them, because you're not going to be able to change them if you don't understand where they're coming from. And then, number 3, oh gosh, it's like Jeopardy. I don't know. Can I think about it and maybe come back to it?
You can think about it and come back to it, or I can fill in the blank. I mean, do you have them rewrite their story, or do you do affirmations with them?
So there's definitely an affirmation piece. So that's a good one. I'll go ahead and do that. So I have created an anchor statement for myself that is really helpful when I'm going into situations where I know there might be some shyness bubbling up, or some limiting beliefs bubbling up. And that is, I say to myself, no matter what happens right now, no matter what decision I make, at the end of the day, I still have God, I still have my husband, and I still have my kids, and that's so I'm going to be okay. And so it really helps move past indecision or other feelings of hesitation based on what might happen in the scenario that I'm going into. And so that's obviously not going to be the same for everyone, but an anchor statement.
An anchor statement. I love that. I haven't heard it called that. I love that. I've got some affirmations that are different but similar, but I love that idea of an anchor statement, especially because it sounds like it's one, right? It's one thing that brings you back to center. That is so powerful. All right, my last question for you, CJ, and you know this because you've been around the block in the Free Mama community a few times. But the mission of the Free Mama is to make sure that no between family and financial stability. Knowing that, knowing everything that we have shared today, do you have one last either piece of advice or tidbit that you would like to share and leave our listeners with?
Yeah, and oh gosh, this is probably one that a lot of people say, but like sometimes you just need to hear it from a different voice. Is forget the idea of perfection and just take messy action. I actually said once at Free Mom, the first Free Mama Live, that like everything I did wrong in my journey was something that you had told me how to do right in the program. But like it wasn't until I started moving and did it wrong that I actually started growing and progressing. So don't be hung up on this idea of perfection, or that the decision you make today has to be the decision that happens tomorrow and the next day and the next day. You can always change, you can always grow, but you have to start doing something before you can get there.
Oh, I love it so much. CJ, thank you so much for your time and your energy and your lack of shyness for being on Free Mama Radio today. It has been an absolute delight. And I know that there are women listening that need to hear this and need to connect with you. And so, like I said, you guys can visit freemamaradio.com. We'll get you access to connect with CJ, to connect with her Facebook group, and learn more from her about her process and how she helps women such as a previous version of herself kind of get out of the shyness, unpack that wrapping paper, and deal with the stuff that's inside. And you guys, it's hard. You guys hear me talk about mindset all the time, but it's much easier to work through with somebody else who understands and has walked that journey as well. So if you guys like today's episode of Free Mama Radio, let us know. Take a little screenshot wherever you're listening. Tag us, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you are. We will reshare it. And we'd love to hear your feedback and comments as well. We'll see you guys next time.